What if the person who could change your entire future stood in front of you, wearing torn clothes, guarding a gate, and asking for nothing but respect? What if love was tested not by wealth, but by kindness? Tonight, I share a story where a billionaire hid his riches, a gatekeeper hid a truth, and a young woman revealed her heart, a moment so powerful it left a father in tears. In the world we live in today, appearances often become our first and sometimes only measure of a person's worth. We are taught, subtly and sometimes openly, that success has a look, that respect is earned through clothing, cars, titles, and social status. From a very young age, society conditions us to associate wealth with intelligence, power with importance, and poverty with failure. Because of this mindset, we begin to judge people long before we know their stories. A polished suit earns instant admiration, while worn clothes often invite disregard. Yet, this habit of judging by appearances blinds us to one of life's most important truths. What we see is rarely the full reality. The billionaire father in this story understood this truth deeply. Despite his immense wealth and influence, he recognized that money has the power to distort relationships. It can attract people for the wrong reasons, disguise intentions, and hide true character behind politeness motivated by self-interest. He knew that when people believe someone is powerful, they behave differently, more respectfully, more carefully, sometimes even dishonestly. To uncover the truth, he had to remove the illusion of wealth. And so, he chose to appear poor, powerless, and insignificant. Disguised as a gatekeeper, he became invisible in the eyes of social status. No luxury surrounded him. No authority protected him. In that disguise, he represented millions of people who are overlooked: everyday security guards, cleaners, drivers, laborers, individuals who keep society running yet are often treated as if they do not matter. By stepping into this role, the father wasn't only testing his son's fiancée. He was exposing a powerful social reality. People reveal who they are when they think no one important is watching. Appearances deceive not because they are intentionally misleading, but because humans rely on them too heavily. We assume a poor person has little to offer, while a rich person deserves automatic respect. But history, experience, and countless real-life stories prove otherwise. Some of the most compassionate hearts live in the simplest homes, while some of the coldest attitudes hide behind wealth and privilege. The gatekeeper's disguise stripped away expectations and left only one thing behind: human interaction without incentive. When the fiancée encountered the gatekeeper, she stood at a crossroads of character. There was no reward for kindness, no advantage in politeness, no benefit in patience. In her mind, this man had no influence over her future, no connection to wealth, and no power to change her life. And that is precisely what made the moment so revealing. How she treated him would not be shaped by ambition, fear, or desire, but by her values. This is why appearances are such an effective test. When status disappears, sincerity stands alone. Many people are courteous to those above them, but dismissive to those below them. They smile upward and look down with indifference. But genuine character does not shift with social position. It remains steady, whether facing a billionaire or a gatekeeper. The father knew that only by hiding his true identity could he witness the fiancée's authentic self. The deception was not meant to trick her, it was meant to reveal her. In removing wealth from the equation, the father created a moment of truth, one where respect could not be purchased and kindness could not be strategic. Appearances in this context acted like a veil. Once lifted, they showed that wealth and poverty are often costumes society assigns, while character is the unchanging person beneath them. This point extends far beyond this single story. In everyday life, we constantly encounter people in disguises we do not choose. The person serving food, cleaning offices, guarding buildings, or standing silently in the background may carry wisdom, pain, generosity, or integrity far greater than we imagine. When we judge based on appearance alone, we miss opportunities to connect with humanity. Worse, we expose our own limitations. The billionaire father's tears did not come from shock or surprise alone. They came from relief. relief that his son's future was not tied to someone blinded by surface-level judgment, relief that behind appearances there was substance, relief that kindness had survived the absence of wealth. His disguise proved that appearances may shape perception, but they do not define truth. Ultimately, this key point teaches us that who someone appears to be is often the least important thing about them. Titles fade, money changes, clothing wears out, but character remains consistent. When we learn to look beyond appearances, we begin to see people as they truly are, not for what they own, but for who they choose to be when no one is watching. Kindness is often mistaken for weakness, simplicity, or good manners, but in reality, it is one of the strongest indicators of a person's true character. Unlike intelligence, wealth, or talent, kindness cannot be faked for long. It appears naturally, especially in moments where there is no pressure to impress and no reward to gain. That is why kindness becomes the ultimate test of who we truly are, not when we are being watched, praised, or evaluated, but when we believe our actions carry no consequences. In the story of the billionaire, father disguised as a poor gatekeeper, kindness becomes the silent judge. The father did not ask questions, demand explanations, or create a formal test. He simply observed. He understood that kindness reveals itself in small, unplanned moments, through tone of voice, body language, patience, and respect. These moments cannot be rehearsed. They happen instinctively, guided by values that live deep within a person. When the son's fiancée arrived at the gate, she had a choice, though she may not have realized it. The gatekeeper represented inconvenience. He slowed her down. He stood between her and the life she was stepping into. In such moments, many people show irritation, entitlement, or superiority. Kindness, however, requires restraint. It requires empathy, the ability to recognize another person's humanity even when they appear unimportant to our own goals. True kindness is not loud or dramatic. It does not seek attention. It shows itself quietly, a greeting offered sincerely, patience given without complaint, respect extended without expectation. These actions may seem small, but they carry immense weight. They reflect how a person sees the world and their place in it. Someone who is kind to those with no power demonstrates inner security. They do not need to dominate, impress, or belittle others to feel valuable. The father's test worked precisely because kindness cannot be negotiated. You cannot bargain your way into being genuinely kind. You either are or you are not. Politeness toward powerful people can be learned. Respect shown to authority can be strategic. But kindness towards someone who cannot offer anything in return is pure. It flows from moral grounding rather than social conditioning. In society, kindness is often conditional. People are kind when it benefits them, when it improves their image, advances their career, or protects their reputation. This kind of kindness is fragile. It disappears the moment incentives vanish. The gatekeeper disguise removed all incentives. There was no advantage in being warm, no penalty for being dismissive. In that absence of pressure, character surfaced naturally. Kindness also reflects emotional intelligence. It requires awareness, an understanding that every person carries unseen struggles. The gatekeeper's worn clothes and tired posture could easily have been ignored or judged. Instead, kindness required the fiancé to pause, to see him not as an obstacle, but as a human being performing his duty. This pause is powerful. It signals humility and perspective, two qualities essential for strong relationships and ethical living. From the father's perspective, kindness mattered more than elegance, education, or charm. He knew that wealth could be lost, status could change, and appearances could fade. But kindness would determine how his son's future partner would treat people in moments of stress, failure, or vulnerability. Would she remain compassionate when life became difficult? Would she show patience when circumstances were inconvenient? Kindness provided answers to questions that words never could. This test also highlights an uncomfortable truth. The way we treat people who serve us reflects how we see ourselves. Those who are cruel to individuals they consider below them often do so out of insecurity or entitlement. They confuse dominance with strength. Kindness, on the other hand, reflects confidence. It shows that a person does not need to assert superiority to feel important. The father's emotional reaction stemmed from witnessing kindness in its purest form. He was not moved because she followed social rules, but because she followed moral ones. She did not know she was being tested, which made her kindness honest. In that moment, she was not performing. She was simply being herself. And that authenticity is rare. Kindness also has a ripple effect. A single respectful interaction can restore dignity, build trust, and leave a lasting impression. For the gatekeeper, her kindness affirmed his humanity. For the father, it affirmed his hope in the future. And for the audience, it reinforces a powerful lesson. Kindness is not situational. It is foundational. In a world where success is often measured by achievement and appearance, kindness becomes a quiet rebellion. It challenges systems built on hierarchy and reminds us that every person deserves respect, regardless of their role. The father understood that kindness would shape not just family dynamics, but generations to come. And that is why, among all tests, kindness remains the most honest and unforgiving measure of character. Love that depends on wealth is fragile. It shines brightly in comfort, but fades quickly in hardship. True love, however, is anchored in values: integrity, respect, empathy, loyalty, and humility. These qualities do not rise and fall with bank balances or social status. The billionaire father understood this distinction clearly, and it is why he chose to test not his son's fiancée's affection, but the foundation upon which that affection stood. Wealth has a powerful influence on relationships. It can attract admiration that looks like love, loyalty that feels sincere, and attention that seems genuine. But when money becomes the center of a relationship, it quietly replaces values. Decisions are then driven by comfort rather than commitment, image rather than integrity. The father feared this illusion. He knew that if his son's future marriage was built on wealth, it would collapse the moment wealth disappeared. Or worse, it would survive without love. By disguising himself as a poor gatekeeper, the father removed wealth from the equation. He stripped away luxury, privilege, and promise, leaving behind only human interaction. In doing so, he created a moment where love could not be influenced by financial expectations. If the fiancée's respect, warmth, and patience remained intact without the presence of wealth, then her love was likely rooted in deeper values. Values are revealed not through grand declarations, but through everyday behavior. Anyone can speak eloquently about love, loyalty, and respect when life is easy. But values show themselves in small moments: how one reacts to inconvenience, how one treats those with no power, how one behaves when there is nothing to gain. The gatekeeper represented a future without luxury, a life where wealth offered no comfort. How she responded to him reflected what kind of partner she would be if circumstances ever changed. A relationship based on wealth asks, "What can you give me?" A relationship based on values asks, "Who are you?" even when you have nothing. The father was not only thinking about his son's present happiness, he was thinking about his son's future stability. Wealth can disappear overnight. Markets crash, businesses fail, health declines. When these things happen, only values remain. In those moments, love must rely on patience instead of privilege, understanding instead of entitlement, and support instead of status. The father wanted to know whether his son's partner would stand firm in such moments, or walk away when comfort faded. The fiancée's reaction at the gate revealed that her respect did not depend on what the gatekeeper owned. She did not measure his worth by his appearance or position. This suggested something powerful. Her love was not transactional. She was capable of valuing people for who they are, not what they provide. That quality is essential in a lasting marriage, especially in families where wealth can create imbalance, entitlement, and unrealistic expectations. Wealth-based love often brings hidden dangers. It can breed control, comparison, and insecurity. When money becomes central, partners may feel replaceable or valued only for what they contribute materially. Values-based love, however, creates safety. It allows people to be vulnerable, to fail, and to grow without fear of losing affection. The father's test was ultimately about emotional security, not financial security. Another important aspect of values-based love is equality. Money creates hierarchy. One person may feel superior, while the other feels dependent. But values restore balance. Kindness, respect, and humility level the relationship. By honoring a poor gatekeeper, the fiancée demonstrated that she did not see herself above others. This mindset is crucial in a marriage where power and privilege already exist. The father's tears reflected more than approval. They reflected reassurance. He saw that his son's future partner would not love him only in success, but also in struggle. She would not measure their relationship by comfort alone, but by connection. This realization brought emotional relief because a parent's deepest fear is not that their child will lose wealth, but that they will lose love when life becomes difficult. This key point reminds us that love tested by wealth is incomplete. Love tested by values is enduring. When wealth is present, values may be hidden, but when wealth is absent, values stand exposed. The gatekeeper disguise was not about deception. It was about clarity. It revealed whether love was built on a foundation that could survive beyond money. In the end, relationships rooted in values do not fear change. They adapt, endure, and deepen over time. Wealth may enhance life, but it cannot sustain love. Only values can do that. Luxury is loud. It announces itself through expensive clothes, grand homes, powerful titles, and visible success. It demands attention and often commands respect without asking for it. Humility, on the other hand, is quiet. It does not seek recognition or validation. It exists not in what someone owns, but in how they see themselves in relation to others. In the story of the billionaire father disguised as a poor gatekeeper, humility becomes more powerful than any display of wealth, revealing truths that luxury never could. The father already possessed luxury in abundance. His wealth gave him influence, admiration, and authority. Yet he understood a profound truth. Luxury can impress, but it cannot educate the heart. People behave differently around wealth. They are more careful with their words, more generous with their smiles, and often less honest with their intentions. Humility was the only tool capable of cutting through these performances and exposing authenticity. By choosing to appear as a gatekeeper, the father placed himself in a position of humility. He stood at the entrance not as an owner, but as a servant. This role reversal was intentional. It allowed him to experience how people treat those who are perceived as insignificant. In doing so, he demonstrated that true power does not fear humility. It uses it. A man confident in his worth does not need to display it. Humility also acts as a mirror. It reflects the inner attitudes of others. When faced with luxury, many people respond with admiration or ambition. When faced with humility, people respond with honesty. The gatekeeper's worn clothes and modest role removed intimidation and expectation. The fiancée's reaction, therefore, was not shaped by pressure or fear, but by her natural disposition. In a society that glorifies success, humility is often misunderstood. It is mistaken for weakness, lack of ambition, or low self-worth. In reality, humility requires strength. It takes confidence to treat everyone with equal respect, regardless of their position. It takes maturity to listen rather than dominate, to appreciate rather than judge. The fiancée's respectful behavior toward the gatekeeper showed that she did not define herself through comparison. She did not need to elevate herself by diminishing someone else. Luxury can create distance between people. It builds invisible walls of status that separate important from unimportant. Humility dissolves these walls. It reminds us that all roles in society carry dignity. The gatekeeper, though seemingly powerless, represented responsibility, discipline, and service. By acknowledging him with respect, the fiancé acknowledged the value of work and the humanity behind it. From the father's perspective, humility was essential for harmony within a wealthy family. Wealth amplifies ego if left unchecked. It can foster entitlement, impatience, and a sense of superiority. A person lacking humility may struggle to coexist in such an environment without conflict. The father needed to know whether his son's future partner would remain grounded or be consumed by privilege. Humility also plays a critical role in conflict. In relationships, disagreements are inevitable. Luxury cannot resolve them, humility can. The ability to admit fault, to listen, and to prioritize understanding over pride determines the strength of a partnership. By showing humility toward the gatekeeper, the fiancé demonstrated emotional maturity, an ability to respect others without needing validation. Another powerful aspect of humility is that it recognizes shared humanity. Titles and wealth may separate lives, but emotions unite them. Everyone experiences fatigue, hope, fear, and dignity. When the fiancée engaged kindly with the gatekeeper, she acknowledged this shared experience. She did not reduce him to a function or position. She saw him as a person deserving courtesy. The father's tears were not triggered by wealth revealed, but by humility witnessed. He saw that his son's future was not tied to someone dazzled by luxury, but grounded by values. In that moment, humility proved louder than luxury. It communicated sincerity, stability, and moral strength without a single word. This key point reminds us that luxury may attract attention, but humility earns respect. Luxury may open doors, but humility determines how one walks through them. When wealth fades, as it often can, humility remains. And it is humility, not luxury, that sustains relationships, builds trust, and reveals true character. Parents may celebrate achievements, admire talent, and appreciate success. But when it comes to their children's future, especially in matters of marriage, they seek something far deeper than perfection. They seek character. Perfection is impressive on the surface, but it is fragile and often artificial. Character, however, is enduring. It shapes decisions, guides behavior, and reveals itself consistently over time. The billionaire father's test was never about finding a flawless individual. It was about discovering the kind of person his son would build a life with. Perfection creates pressure. It demands constant performance and leaves little room for mistakes. In relationships, this pressure can be damaging. A person trying to appear perfect may hide flaws, suppress emotions, and avoid vulnerability. Parents understand this. They know that life is unpredictable, and no one remains perfect under strain. What matters is not how someone behaves when everything is ideal, but how they respond when life becomes difficult. Character answers that question. The father was not interested in the fiancé's elegance, education, or social polish. Those qualities can be learned, displayed, and even exaggerated. Character, however, is revealed unconsciously. It appears in how someone treats others, how they handle inconvenience, and how they respond when no one is evaluating them. By disguising himself as a gatekeeper, the father removed the setting where perfection could be performed and replaced it with a moment where character would naturally emerge. Parents worry about the unseen moments in their children's lives. They ask silent questions. Will this person be patient in conflict? Will they be kind during stress? Will they remain respectful when disappointed? These questions cannot be answered through conversation alone. They are answered through observation. The father's test allowed him to witness a moment that reflected how the fiancé might behave in everyday life, beyond formal meetings and rehearsed impressions. Perfection often focuses on image. character focuses on impact. A perfect appearance might impress guests, but character determines how a household functions. It determines whether kindness exists in private, whether respect survives disagreement, and whether empathy guides decisions. Parents understand that marriages do not fail because of a lack of perfection, but because of a lack of character. Another reason parents value character over perfection is resilience. Character creates stability during hardship. Wealth, beauty, and status may change or disappear, but character adapts. The father knew that his son's life, despite wealth, would not be free from challenges. Loss, conflict, illness, and disappointment are universal. He needed to know whether his son's partner possessed the moral strength to face these moments with grace rather than entitlement. The Gatekeeper test was subtle, yet powerful. It did not humiliate or provoke. It simply observed. The fiancée did not know she was being evaluated, which made her behavior honest. This honesty mattered more than any polished interaction in a luxurious setting. Parents trust authenticity more than performance because authenticity predicts future behavior. Parents also understand that perfection often discourages growth. A person focused on appearing perfect may resist feedback or change. Character, however, allows learning. It accepts mistakes, encourages reflection, and supports growth. The fiancé's respectful treatment of the gatekeeper suggested openness, humility, and emotional awareness, qualities essential for long-term partnership and family harmony. From the father's perspective, choosing character was an act of love. He wanted to protect his son not from imperfection, but from emptiness. A partner without character may offer comfort but lack compassion, provide luxury but withhold understanding. Character ensures that love remains human, not transactional. The father's emotional response reflected relief rather than triumph. He was not proud because she passed a test. He was comforted because she revealed consistency. Consistency between values and actions is the foundation of trust. Parents know that trust sustains families more than wealth ever could. This key point reminds us that parents are not searching for ideal individuals. They are searching for reliable hearts. They know that perfection fades under pressure, but character endures. And when parents witness character in its natural form, unannounced, unforced, and unrecognized, it reassures them that their child's future rests in safe hands. When people hear the word wealth, they often think of money, property, influence, and power. These forms of wealth are visible, measurable, and widely admired. Yet they are also unstable. Markets fluctuate, businesses fail, and fortunes can disappear as quickly as they are made. Emotional and moral wealth, however, operates on a different level. It cannot be bought, transferred, or inherited through money. It is built over time through values, experiences, and choices, and once developed, it becomes a person's most reliable asset. The billionaire father understood this distinction clearly. Despite possessing immense financial wealth, he recognized that money alone could not guarantee happiness, security, or dignity. He knew that emotional strength and moral integrity would determine the quality of his family's future far more than bank balances ever could. His test was not designed to measure financial compatibility, but to reveal whether the fiancé possessed the inner wealth required to sustain relationships, responsibility, and legacy. Emotional wealth is reflected in empathy, patience, and emotional awareness. It allows a person to recognize the feelings of others and respond with understanding rather than judgment. When the fiancée encountered the gatekeeper, her response revealed emotional richness. She did not react with impatience or entitlement. Instead, she showed awareness of his presence as a human being, not just as an obstacle or a role. This ability to emotionally connect with others is a form of wealth that deepens relationships and strengthens families. Moral wealth, on the other hand, is built on principles: honesty, respect, humility, and fairness. It guides behavior even when external rules are absent. The gatekeeper situation provided a moral vacuum, no expectations, no witnesses of importance, and no reward for good behavior. In such moments, moral wealth either appears or it does not. The fiancée's respectful conduct demonstrated that her values were internal, not situational. The father's tears symbolized recognition, not surprise. He recognized that his son's future was connected to someone whose wealth could not be lost through misfortune. Financial wealth might fund a lifestyle, but emotional and moral wealth sustain a life. Without these inner resources, even the richest households can become emotionally bankrupt, filled with comfort, yet empty of connection. True wealth also creates stability. Emotionally and morally wealthy individuals do not rely on external validation to feel secure. They do not need to assert dominance or display superiority. This stability allows them to navigate conflict calmly, to listen during disagreement, and to support others without resentment. The father knew that such stability was essential in a family where power and privilege could easily disrupt balance. Another critical aspect of true wealth is its ability to multiply. Financial wealth divides when shared. Emotional and moral wealth grow. Kindness encourages kindness. Respect fosters trust. Integrity builds reputation. By choosing emotional and moral wealth, families create environments where values are passed down naturally, not enforced through authority. The father saw in the fiancée the potential to nurture such an environment. True wealth also protects against arrogance. Money often inflates ego, creating distance between people. Emotional and moral wealth, however, ground individuals in humility. They remind people of shared humanity and common responsibility. The fiancée's behavior suggested that she would not be consumed by privilege, but guided by principle. This assurance mattered deeply to a father concerned not just with his son's happiness, but with the integrity of his family's legacy. The gatekeeper disguise transformed the definition of success. It showed that the richest person in the story was not the billionaire, but the one who possessed kindness without calculation and respect without reward. Emotional and moral wealth do not announce themselves, but they are unmistakable when present. This key point reminds us that while money can open doors, only emotional and moral wealth determine what happens once those doors are opened. Financial wealth may create opportunities, but it is inner wealth that determines how those opportunities are used. In the end, true wealth is not what we accumulate, but what we contribute, through character, compassion, and conscience. This story leaves us with a question that reaches far beyond wealth, status, or family legacy. How do we treat people when nothing is to be gained? The billionaire father found his answer not in contracts, conversations, or appearances, but in a quiet moment at a gate, where character spoke louder than identity. In a world that rewards image over integrity, this story reminds us that the most meaningful tests are the ones we never know we are taking. Every interaction becomes a mirror, reflecting who we are at our core. Titles may command attention, and money may create comfort, but only values earn trust and lasting respect. The father's tears were not tears of emotion alone, they were tears of certainty. Certainty that his son's future rested on kindness, humility, and moral strength. Certainty that love built on values can withstand change, hardship, and time. As we move forward in our own lives, may we remember this lesson. Respect does not depend on status. Kindness does not require reward. And true wealth is revealed in how we treat those who can offer us nothing in return.